review show. As always, I'm your host, Daniel, with my father and co-host, Jerry. Say hi, Dad.
Hello.
This time, we are doing our first, actually, time we're doing this is a limited series called The Queen's Gambit, which I think everybody's seen already because according to what I've seen, it's Netflix's biggest limited series ever. I don't know how that compares exactly number-wise to what else they've done. I don't know if I can really name any other limited series from Netflix off the top of my head that got big. Can you?
No, I don't think so.
Um, I was gonna say it. I mean, there's obviously some from HBO, but I guess to get into it, this is I think probably like one of the best limited series I've ever seen.
Hmm.
It's really good, and I don't care about chess at all. Chess, I guess, not chess.
Yeah.
Um, I played it a bit when I was a lot younger, but I never really had a lot of fun with it as a kid. So, but the show makes it interesting. Um, I was gonna say, uh, one of the things they do, I think, and this gets in a lot of movies and stuff, they don't really get into this and stuff, but when it deals with like a prodigy, it doesn't explain the amount of work they still have to do to get to the top of their field. And I think this show does that very well.
Yeah. It showed not only the amount of work she had to do, but how she collaborated with the other people and everybody who helped her along the way.
Yeah, like um, it showed how like the collaboration with people, even people that weren't anywhere near as good as her, still
Yeah.
helped her out. It showed how like um, how like different like books and stuff that she was reading a lot were all key factors into it.
Mhm.
Um, it also showed really well at how she was doing it in their head with the checkerboard on the well not check
Mhm.
the chessboard on the ceiling, which was a great way to visually represent how she was playing it in her head. I think.
Yes.
Um,
Yeah. And it was really well photographed and done. Uh,
mhm,
even it started in uh, the first hour, the first session, where she got the chessboard on the ceiling and moved the pieces around. They showed how special she was.
mhm,
She played the chess club and she played all the people in the chess club at once,
mhm,
and how she could keep it all in her head and stuff.
mhm. Yeah. No. It really went into like but as much as how she was practicing, how she was just obsessed with it, and how she absolutely had to love the game to be where she was at.
Yes.
They even have a character talking about how like he likes playing chess a lot, but he's nowhere near her, and how she loves it.
And now she was a child, of course, whose mother had passed away, and she was an orphan in
Yeah.
an orphanage, and she learned it from the janitor,
Mhm.
the chess game. And of course, in the last
Mhm.
uh, segment, they do a thing, a newspaper reporter on how she learned it, and she made sure the guy put down
Mhm.
that she learned it from the janitor and that he was a very good player.
Mhm.
And I think it sort of one of the ideas in the movie was also that prodigies come from anywhere.
Yeah. But I mean, it also talked about like in the film, like the janitor recognized really quickly she was a prodigy.
Yeah,
Uh, and knew
yeah,
and actually had some idea of how to teach a prodigy.
yeah.
Um, Obviously it's a movie, so uh,
It's a
and how
movie
to
and
do it, and how to get her the books, and how to do all that.
it's a movie
Um,
and it's a story, and yeah.
but I mean, it's like I said. I mean, it does go into like obviously she has problems with drugs and alcohol. She has problems with relationships.
Mhm.
But it also in this shows how she actually grows in those relationships really well.
Yeah.
and like how there's a lot going on how she grows with a person, but she's still obsessed with chess. But it's not the only thing for her.
Yeah.
Um,
It is a coming of age story.
yeah, it has very clearly coming of well, at least the first part of it or so is a coming of age
Yeah.
story. It's kind of a mixture. Like the first part's more of a coming of age story, growing up, understanding. The second half is more of like what it takes to be the best at something.
Mhm.
And over there, and throughout the whole thing, there's an overarching thing on addiction
Yes.
and like how they believe they're desperately needing these things, and it
Yeah.
does all these things really, really well.
Yes.
I
And
think, yeah,
the one thing is, it's adapted from a novel by Walter Travis,
hmm
and Walter Travis has written actually three other things that are in the movie. Two of them are very famous: "The Color of Money" and "Hustler," which is on Fast Eddie Felson,
hmm
the pool player,
Paul Newman.
and Paul Newman, of course, plays him in
hmm
both as a young man and as an older man,
hmm
getting back into the game.
Yeah,
Uh, the he also the other thing was Walter Travis wrote a movie called The Man Who Fell to Earth.
yeah, David Bowie.
It is with David Bowie, which is a really far out movie compared to these, but it shows you it's similar in a way where it deals with genius.
Yeah, well, that one also has and drug addiction.
Yeah, drug
Because if I
addiction.
remember right, he gets too strung out at the end to save his planet in Man Who Fell to Earth.
Yeah,
Um, yeah, and in this one, um, it kind of like it very much she doesn't she doesn't do these things on her own. She's not a Superman or a
yeah,
Superwoman. It's very much a group effort to compel her. They realize there's something there and help compel her forward,
yeah,
propel her forward, not compel her forward.
yeah.
And I found that really interesting because it's not usually something you see in these kind of movies. It's usually they're on their own, they have these problems, but whatever. It's just because the world doesn't understand them.
Yeah, and it's a movie about people coming to her
hmm
and helping her on her way.
Yes, she doesn't. And like I said, and to a certain degree, she doesn't really like.
And she has a lot of quirks
Yeah.
in herself.
Well, I mean, there's a lot of like interesting things. Like her wardrobe, if you paid attention, was very black and white, so representation of a chessboard. And
Yeah.
as she tries to become like during the latter, she tries to become more effeminate at one point because she's obviously in a thing that's loaded with boys, and still is, to my knowledge, the
Yeah.
world chess. Uh, I'm sure
Especially
there's a
in
lot more
America.
girls than there were in the '60s, but
Yeah.
I mean, they obviously they take the time period and do it very well.
Mhm.
You have a degree of Cold War tension going on. You certainly have the women's rights going on. Uh, you even have a little race thing going on with her friend at the orphanage, both as a child and as she grew up,
Yeah.
which was good. It added to it, I thought.
Yeah.
None of these things, because of the way it never overwhelms you with any of these things. They all seem to have their time and place, and they show up. Uh, they all they all more reflect the times and don't feel shoved into the movie. I shouldn't say movie, the series, like a lot of stuff did. Um,
Well, as you said, it has a feminist story to it.
yeah,
Versus it's about a female who's in a boys' club and is taking on boys.
hmm
But it also, you have her mother,
hmm
the mother who adopts her, who has been held down and actually has some real talent of her own.
yeah. I mean, well,
And
it kind of talks about a lot about talent and how like even people that are really talented don't
yes,
get a chance to always do that talent because of various aspects of the world.
yes,
And it kind of um, and it
mm-hmm.
kind of states that they all and there's I mean there's a lot of themes and stuff in it, but that's one of the key themes in it. In it like it states that she's very lucky in which she not only had some every point in the thing she has somebody that will help her expand her talents.
Right.
It goes from the janitor to the chess club teacher to her mother to then some of the boyfriends and friends she has from the chess world,
Well, that's a,
and how they kind of help her along the way. And even like she's I mean she screws them over a lot of times when they try to help her.
the well, the one thing is, it starts off with the girl in the orphanage helping her to get going.
Yeah,
The orphanage, and then ultimately that girl comes back and helps her after her mother dies,
yeah. Well, after
and
she kind of hit
gets
rock bottom.
hits rock bottom with her drug addiction, which was caused by her mother's death,
Hmm.
at least shoved into it by the mother's death.
Well, she was already an alcoholic,
Yeah,
um, and I mean it gives her somewhat reason to. I mean, obviously the tranquilizer addiction was because they did that to kids
yeah,
in the thing, which was certainly like it had a like it very much commented on like giving kids tranquilizers and stuff, which I'm sure like I don't know when the novel was initially written. I'm sure it was it in the 70s?
it was in the 70s. I
Yeah,
mean, the whole show starts in
early
uh,
60s.
early 60s. Yeah,
Yeah, and I mean I'm sure like that was probably a big thing at the time, giving kids tranquilizers.
yeah,
Because I mean it has a very strong statement against that in the movie.
yes.
Um, uh, and not so much drug use in general, just the tranquilizers and stuff um, in it. Uh, but like one of the things that I think really made this thing was the lead actress, Anya Taylor Joy, I believe her name is.
Yeah.
Which they do some really good makeup to make her look like I think like when she's for I don't she's not playing her when she was a really little girl, but I think she starts playing her when she's around 13,
Hmm.
and she actually looks 13.
Yes.
And it also helps that she's an odd looking girl, and I don't mean that in a negative light, but the actress herself is kind of odd looking,
Yeah.
uh, with like her eye spacing and everything.
Hmm.
Uh, but it helps because she looks. It helps kind of her as like when they find as she ages her up, they seem like they hit it well, and each time she actually seems like she's that age until the end when she's in her early 20s, I think.
Hmm.
Uh, but one of the things um, I like in it is that once she proves she can compete with the other chess players,
Hmm.
she's accepted as a whole.
Yes.
Like, they're obviously going to blow off a little girl, but they'd also probably blow off a little boy unless they knew there was a prodigy.
Hmm.
And, like, yes, there's some misogyny and stuff from the other things and how she's treated kind of by the media in the chess world. But the players themselves respect her,
Yes.
which I found like um, at least as she starts winning,
Yeah.
they don't like consider it a joke or anything after she wins the one thing uh because you have that great scene when they walk in, they sit down for the first one, the guy realizes it's her and just swears.
Yeah.
uh they and you got like there was very much a sense of community in these outcasted people.
Hmm.
And you also like I also because like I said, when I used to play Magic all the time, I could go over it in my head. And I kind of it took me a long time to, and I certainly didn't realize until when I was a bit older. I well not really that much old, maybe like 16 or something when I was still playing. That not everybody could do that
Yeah.
and not do it as well as I could.
Hmm.
Um, but as somebody that like never really got into like I was somebody that would never be like a champion in Magic the Gathering, even though I like playing it because I didn't care to win, and I wasn't going to like read the books on it and learn all the stuff that you need to win
Hmm.
on that. And I think this thing portrayed that really well. One, you have to be absolutely obsessed with it. 2, you have to absolutely love it. Um, and 3, you have to actually put in a lot of work and a lot of like. She liked reading the chess books. It
Yeah.
talked about how they went over all the games.
Hmm.
It talked about that. Um, there's a point in the movie where she realizes that not everybody plays it in their head, and she talks to the one guy, and he's like, "Doesn't everybody?" Uh, and I found a lot of those little moments to be really interesting and really reassuring and help like not only grow her character but show that like yes she started off very good at chess and she knew how to play and stuff and was a child prodigy at it, but she still put in a hell of a lot of work.
Yeah. And well, chess is one of those games
Mm-hmm.
that even if you're not good at it, if you sit down and you read a book on chess,
Mm-hmm.
you will become a tremendously better player just by reading.
Yeah.
Because chess people, and of course she was born with the ability to look at the board
Yeah.
and see how the
Mm-hmm.
the pieces in chess don't move singularly; they move in concert.
Yeah.
And I mean that was it's one of those things. I know it's very hard, to read a book on basketball, and although you can, improve your game a great deal,
Mm-hmm.
but on something like chess,
Mm-hmm.
you can't.
Yeah.
And because it's it deals with the world sort of differently
Mm-hmm.
than you normally think of how things work.
Yeah.
Because they all move in concert. It isn't, when you look 5 moves ahead, well, a person who's good at chess sees all 5 of those moves in their head immediately. He knows where the board's going to be.
Yeah. I mean, and they go over that a few times. They in particular like go over how like they had like when they stopped the game, how when they stopped the game to take a break
Yeah,
or because it's been going on too long, and how they all got together and would work on like who's the next move going to
yeah.
be and what are the
Well,
possible moves and going off script and all that.
and well, that's something, the one guy said at the beginning, the reason why the Russians are so good at it is because they all work together.
Yeah,
They're all
he's
part of the team.
yeah, and
Where Americans are all just independent people.
yeah, and he said they all are paid to play, and these guys weren't.
Yeah.
They kind of go into that somewhat on it and how they have money troubles and whatnot. Uh, Not so much, but
Hmm.
in it. Um, what was I gonna say?
The other thing is the ending of it.
Yeah.
And, I think it showed that how much she really loved the game because in
Hmm.
the ending she went back and sat down
Hmm.
with the people in Russia to play the game.
No,
Yeah.
all the endings of each episode ended perfectly.
Oh yeah.
They each ended with a really nice cliffhanger slash um whatever it was going on each time to make you want to watch them just one after another after another after another. I
Yeah.
mean, I think this is kind of like Tiger King, in which it came out also at the perfect time because we
Mhm.
had this huge chess resurgence.
Yeah.
Um, During prior to this came out, and to my knowledge, I think the chess world has actually talked a lot in how they like it,
Yes.
and I do believe I saw like some even female players have talked how it goes.
Mhm.
Uh, uh, which is always good when you get the people that play it say, "Hey, it's a good representation of it."
Uh, well, one of the things most of the chess people who've seen it and
Hmm.
have stated that it's so accurate as the chess and chess players.
Yeah.
Uh, you know, it is, it catches the emotional reality of the chess game,
Hmm.
and the
Hmm.
and of course, a lot of the female chess players are hoping that it surges, gets a lot more females into the chess game.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Mhm. I mean, obviously, that's one of the key things that even though she was making it big, I think she only plays one woman at the very beginning.
Yeah,
That's just at like some Kentucky tournament.
yeah,
Throughout the whole thing, the rest of the time, it's very much a boys' club.
yeah,
Um, but like I said, the boys do respect her,
yeah.
which really in a lot of things like if somebody's usually good at something, they usually do get a lot of respect if it's some weird community like that I found. Now,
Yeah.
not always, but it's usually more the people outside that agitate it and mock it up that when you see these terrible things on it. At least that's what I've found, and I don't know if that's true for everything, but like at least in a lot of the nerd communities and stuff.
Yeah.
But like throughout the whole thing, though, the acting is also really good
Hmm.
for all the characters.
It's the acting's good. Of
Mm-hmm.
course, Netflix put a good amount of money into the game, into this.
It does look like, yeah, it does look like. I don't want to say it's a super expensive show, but it's a fairly high production quality show. I'm at least I'd assume.
Yeah, and the special effects are
Yeah.
great for a chess game. You wouldn't think you'd say that about
Yeah.
chess playing. It would be great special effects, but certainly this one, the men on the ceiling are tremendous.
Yeah. Uh, I mean, I do kind of wish they maybe got a bit weirder with some of the stuff and her hallucinations, with that, but
Yeah.
that's just my personal taste on that kind of thing. That's kind of like what I like seeing. But no. I mean, like of like the limited series I can think of that I've seen, like this ranks right up there with like Watchmen and Chernobyl,
Yeah.
which I think are like the best of the best that I've seen limited series wise.
Yeah, I would say it's real comparable to Chernobyl. Uh, Chernobyl always seemed to, the one thing they always seem to end it perfectly.
Yeah. Uh,
They,
this has a
and
much lower barrier to entry than Watchmen, though.
yeah,
It's not like Watchmen, in which you had to watch the whole series to understand it. And the whole series made the whole thing as a whole much better. No, this one you can sit down and watch an episode, understand it,
yeah,
and you'll almost certainly want to go on to the next episode.
mhm,
I should make that clear.
yeah,
Uh, mm-hmm. No, yeah. I mean, mm-hmm. And again, a lot of it comes down to the lead actress. Is I think she's in almost every scene in the show,
yes,
and she does like even when I don't know the name of the child that plays her, but the child that plays her does a pretty good job too.
yes,
And obviously when the one who's in most of the series, Anya Taylor Joy or whatever her name is. I'm sorry if I'm
yeah,
pronouncing it wrong or uh, got it wrong. I usually have something up on the poster that says it, and I didn't this time. But she does a phenomenal job on it as Beth.
mhm.
I don't know. Is there anything else you wanted to talk about on the show?
No, I don't think so. It was, as I said, it was exceedingly well done,
Mm-hmm. I mean,
and
it makes chess exciting. Like you actually understand why people consider it a sport after watching this movie.
yeah.
Uh, and I think that's one of the cool things on it. Uh, so I guess that wraps up this episode of our show. Again, thank you for listening, and if you're watching this on YouTube, please remember to like and subscribe. Thank you, and goodbye.
All right.